for the conversation that we're going to have today about mental health. Guys, I today I was leaving work because I had to stop somewhere and get some groceries and then come back home, get ready for this conversation. So while I was on the border, and then we came across, it was more like a military truck or something like that. And you
Mm.
all know what's happening in Kenya, right? That's
Yeah.
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
riots and everything. So I had this fear of, it wasn't even the fear of, okay, getting arrested. I mean, I haven't done anything, but you could be arrested for anything. But it was
Yeah.
the fear of, I don't know. It was a certain fear I couldn't even like wrap my finger around, and I realized how much we are like surrounded by manifestations of trauma that show up like in our culture, in our politics, in our professional lives, in our relationships, and we don't talk about these things. You understand, and we never get treatment for these things. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shoot! Is this? Is it just me, or can can anyone relate? Can you guys relate to this?"
Well, first of all, I'd like to take this chance to say good evening to our viewers and to you, Rachel and Claire. Welcome aboard. I am glad that the three of us are discussing something that everyone should discuss, everyone should understand, everyone should embrace and know that it is real, it is happening, and
Right.
unless we get to the bottom of this, it's going to eat us all alive and we won't like it. Um, Trauma is something that touches our lives in all aspects of life. And unless we first of all acknowledge that indeed trauma exists, we won't be able to catch that disease or get rid of it. So, yes, it is a relatable topic, and I'm glad to be a part of the team that is going to discuss it.
Thank you, Isaac. Oh, today, my bad, people, my bad. I know if you've watched the previous episodes, my face is familiar and Isaac's face is familiar. But we have a guest today, and I am absolutely glad that she's joined us. Miss Claire Nakato, you're very much welcome to this conversation today. I know you wear so many hats. You're a mom, you're a mental health advocate, you started a podcast that's in that direction or that's giving a face to what mental health is. And you're doing so much other really work that I'm so proud to know you and be a friend to you. So, Claire, I'm just going to give you some minutes for you just to introduce yourself, and then we get back into the conversation.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rachel. I usually get very weird about introducing myself because until very
Oh, this,
recently
yeah.
I introduced myself as my career, and I'm trying to change that and introduce myself as a human being, as a person. So who is Claire? So yeah, so I think the very first thing I like to say is I'm a mom. I'm a mom of two children that I love very, very,
Amazing,
very
mom.
much. I'm an amazing mom and a
Yeah.
very young mom.
And a young, sexy mom, guys.
You know, when I heard that brief about you being a mom, I kind of got curious. Are they your biological kids?
Or
Yes.
mom to plants or cats, because that's what
Yeah,
we are like.
she could be a mom too.
Yeah.
Yes. They are my biological kids. I have an 8-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. Um, so that's the very first thing I like to talk about. And I'm also very passionate about women. I'm also very passionate about mental health. So I do two things in that line. I have an organization that supports teenage mothers. So this is done through providing them with financial support where necessary, where we can afford as well, business
Yeah.
management support. We do especially mental health support. And most recently, what I'm leaning so much towards is supporting those that really want to go back to school. So lobbying for scholarships and funds for their education. That is something that I found very interesting through the journey. Then I also am a mental health advocate. Every chance I get, I'll talk about mental health. Every opportunity I get, I'll talk about mental health. So as a result, I decided to just talk about it on a platform. So I have a podcast called Spiritual Honesty, which makes basically talks about mental health, but specifically childhood traumas, because that's an area where I feel that a lot of people, most of our mental health struggles actually start from the childhood. And so it's very important for us to tackle these issues from where they started from. So bringing an awareness of the existence of childhood traumas, how they affect people and how they look like among people, and also talking about the fact that it's possible to heal from childhood traumas is one of the reasons behind why we have that conversation. But we also have an angle where we connect that to spirituality. So how does one's trauma, how does one's journey link to their purpose eventually? So how can one find their purpose through the journey that they have had, right? And a lot of I found that a lot of our purpose is actually in our journey. So you heal and then you go into your journey. So yeah, that's spiritual honesty. I'm very happy to also mention that Rachel is one of the people behind spiritual honesty. Yeah.
Wow. That's news to me. Rachel, kudos.
I
You
thought
kept
I've
this to me.
mentioned it. Well, Claire made it
It's
Yeah.
news
public.
to me.
Yeah, we've had these conversations numerous times. She has so much passion for mental health as well, and she would be literally the best person to actually partner with on this, and so we did. Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
Thank you,
Okay.
Claire.
And so am I. I would like to tender in my application to be a part of the team. Come on now. Get me on board.
Well,
Is that HR?
yes, but I'm glad that you've mentioned about the spiritual honest and also the childhood traumas because you realize, like I said, we are surrounded by manifestations of trauma in so many ways and also psychological trauma. So many people find themselves stuck in life or they struggle with so many things like they want to lose weight but it's like it's not even for health benefits, it's because someone has shamed them about their health. So many people are finding it hard to keep relationships. Some are avoidant, some are like abusive, and so many other things. And you realize that most of these things are like hidden remnants of psychological trauma, and which was even passed on from parents or generations to generations. So, um, I'm very glad that there is work that's already done about that. And Claire, Spiritual Honest, which I'm also involved with, is giving a face to the childhood traumas because, as we all know, Africa is a young generation, right? And if all these things are not tackled now, then how is it going to be in the next 30 years or 40 years of broken youths who never treated their traumas and things like that. And that reminds me, I think it was 2 years ago when I realized that it's better to be yourself than to be accepted because you can't be both. You have to be one thing. And when I had Esther on the other 2 weeks back, when we were talking about trauma, the first time we talked about it on this platform, she did talk about how she's healing through talking about her experiences. You know what she's gone through, and no one can ever embarrass her about that. She's really, yeah, she's like, okay, I haven't decided to go see a therapist, but also I'm not in a position where I can, like afford that all the time because there are other things I would love to do. So for me, she was like, she finds her healing, or she's found healing in talking about this over and over again. So she doesn't care what you see her as or what you think about her. It's how like it's her truth. It's she is who she is. Like she's
Yeah.
accepted herself and she's being herself. She's not about, oh, accept me, this
Yeah.
and that. We see that it's a problem right now in society because we have so many people that uh suffer with, including could be like ourselves as well, because if you guys have read, I'm bringing in a bit of statistics here. If you've read some of those WHO statistics and everything, it's estimated that one in four people are likely to be, with mental health issues or something like that. And what are the chances that it's not you or me or the people that are surrounding us or within our families? So we had that conversation. It was very amazing. It was very lively. I thought I'd hoped we could have her back on today, but she's out there healing her mind and transforming lives, which we are also doing here on this platform. Come with healed minds, come with troubled minds, and let's do the work together. Going back to Claire's intro of what she does and everything and childhood traumas. And also her and Isaac being parents, I want to kind of drive the conversation towards that direction of, wow, guys, you are parents. I'm an aspiring parent to be soon.
Very good. We can't wait to have you.
How soon?
Aspiring, please come easy on it. Don't rush. Yeah,
Mm,
be careful with it, and trust me, if you come easy on it, you won't crash.
mm.
Claire, you're starting on this?
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
Uh-huh. So, Rachel, just to get you right, you want to understand what it's like to be a mom?
So, not necessarily. Okay, I would want to understand, like, Claire, from Spiritual Honest, but also from some of the platforms I've had you share about your childhood trauma, right? And
Yes.
now that you are a parent, I'm thinking that you've done some work to get to where you are right now, to be here to speak about this, like to transform lives. You must have done some work to be able to come on this platform and talk about this, like for the whole world to watch without
Yeah.
fear of who's watching, who's going to judge me, and all those other things. And I that makes me so proud of you, and also so proud that your kids have an amazing mother, that they're going to be brought, or they're brought in this healthy environment where mental health is understood.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that we are lucky, we are in a generation where mental health has a face. Things have definitions, there's treatment for that. And there are platforms like this that relatively cost low to like spread awareness and reach as many people as possible around the world. So why I asked, or why I want to understand, or want the audience to understand, is you being a parent of a young parent of two,
Yes.
and uh having healed from, or still healing from, childhood trauma. How has this journey been like, or how is the journey like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I get the question really well. And it's so good that you actually asked it like that, because for me to actually realize my childhood traumas, it happened by me first having children. Until then, I really wasn't aware. Of course, I did have, this is something that I always say everywhere that I go, that when I started therapy, we found out that I have been traumatized since I was 7 years. So from 7 to onwards, for me, depression was like my default. So I didn't know what other feeling is there. And of course, I would have occasional moments of feeling happy and stuff, but those were like very few. And so when I had them, I was always looking forward, not forward per se, but like I was not enjoying them because I knew it was going to be short lived and then I'd go back to being sad. But I did think that everybody else was living like that. So as a result, it wasn't something that I thought was a problem. It's only until I had my first child. So I had my first baby really young. I finished campus at 21 and then I got pregnant at 21. And then I had my baby when I was 22. And also, I think 3 months after realizing I'm pregnant, I made the decision that I was going to be a single parent, mostly because I did not feel ready to get married. I was extremely happy to be a mom, but I was not excited about being a wife. I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything. I thought that I would only be known as a wife, right? So I told my partner at the time that, hey, I don't want us to get married because I want to, you know, do certain things for myself before I go into that. So let's cooperate, and then at some point, once I actually said, once you prove to me that your husband worthy, then we could get married, which I think I said really wrong because then as then turned me into a proper single parent. So I have my journey, have my family, which is like very helpful and very supportive, and then I give birth. So I feel like for me, the thing started when I actually gave birth. Um, all the feelings that I had, because I used to be like a happy go-to person. Everyone knew me as a happy person. I
Sure.
was always, I was always at campus. I used to call everybody love, hi love, hi love, hi love. That's literally, and people started calling me love as well because that's how I was going through my feelings.
That's so
So
true.
Nice.
I met in high school. She was this lovely.
yeah, exactly. So now I'm here with a child and I have all these feelings. At first, it was resentment and mostly towards my mom. So whenever my mom came to me to offer me advice of how to breastfeed, how to do A, B, C, D, and C, I used to feel angry about that because internally I didn't feel like she needed to give me advice on how I could be a mom. I think subconsciously because my mom was the person that caused me a lot of trauma. So I had that resentment towards her, but I wasn't really aware that I had that resentment towards my mom. And so the thing is that with mental health issues, oh, I guess with trauma, they come up at a certain point. But usually when they come up, they don't come with like a template of or like a warning of we are coming. This is
Yeah. Be
you will
ready.
know that this is what exactly happening, and this is how you're gonna navigate it. No, I just
It just
remember
arrives.
exactly. It comes and I used to the very first time I was talking to my best friend when she came to visit me at home, and I was telling her a story of my childhood about a couple stories of my childhood about how my mom treated me that were really stamped in my head. And I was telling her that I don't feel happy that she's the same person who is giving me advice about how to be a proper parent or how to take care of my kid, even though I didn't know how to take care of children at that time. And she didn't know what to say, as all she did was listen. And so that's when it became very clear, but I wasn't aware that it was trauma just surfacing, right? Then I I didn't realize it until I had my second child, and by the time I had my second child, I had started to be very active about mental health. So
Yeah.
because of having these bad feelings, I thought I had a problem. Because of the resentment I felt towards my parents, I thought I am ungrateful. Why would I feel like this? And everything that was happening in my life was proving to me that, of course, I'm ungrateful. I'm not a good child, and everything. So I used to Google a lot about why am I feeling like this. I thought it was a personality issue, so I went into that rabbit hole of understanding personality. At some point, I identified as an introvert. Then I went into astrology. So it was like I went into so many things just to be able to find an answer to the things that were happening.
To
Um,
have definitions of what's going on.
yes, yes, for sure. And it only became clear when I had my second child. For some reason, it's like all the answers came to me, and I started to read things that were now very intentional towards understanding trauma. But also, that's when I started to have intentional therapy that then informed a lot of things that were happening. So because when kids come up, we have like this blueprint of how we were raised, and there are so many people that intend to raise their children the way they were raised. But for me, I felt like I didn't like the way I was raised. And now I have kids that I have to raise differently, but I don't know how. So it is that confusion of, okay, so I'm hearing this, but this is what is happening, but this is what I want to do. And what I want to do is not clear. And I am a single parent and I love my children so much and I don't want to shout at them, right? I don't want to beat them. I want to be able to talk to my children, but even me, out of because of my trauma, I don't know how to talk properly and things like that. And
Yeah.
my daughter once, when she was like 2.5, I shouted at her, we're going to school, and she was just, being a baby, and I shouted at her to stop crying, and she told me later that I shouted at her earlier and she doesn't like it. And I said, well, you don't like being shouted at? And she said, no. And I said, I'm so sorry. I did that. I'll try to do better. And since then, I
Wow.
was like, okay, this girl is like talking.
Okay, I like that. I like the fact that there's communication between you and your daughter.
And that
Yes,
bond, that the bond is built of, it's a safe space. You can tell me how you feel. It's
yeah,
no shame or anything.
It is
yeah,
Yeah.
quite healthy to have such kinds of conversations with your kids. If your
yeah,
Right.
child is able to open up and tell you exactly what she feels, negative or positive, then that's really beautiful. Kudos
yeah.
to you, Claire.
Players
Thank
just
you.
reminded me how I used to be punished, and I think some of mine is I've not had. Okay, the biggest trauma I would say I've had is when I lost my mom, right? Because for me she was like not a mom, she was more like a big sister and things like that. But I've had because I believe I understand there are like small traumas and then big traumas, because some are like big events of like some people have experienced wars, some people have experienced like so many different kinds of traumas. But
Yeah,
back to
Terror
what I was saying,
attacks.
exactly. Accidents of I still have Claire knows about this. I still have trauma of when it rains in the night. Not it's not the rain, it's when the robbers broke into the house and they almost had us, like me. I was there with my sister, my friend's sister, my roomie then. They almost had us killed. So every time it rains in the night, it's my mind's like, oh my god, what if someone is like breaking in and they attack us or something like that. So this is something that people realize, like it's not even trauma, but it keeps manifesting itself in so many things. Back to what I was saying, Claire has just reminded me when she mentioned of shouting at her daughter and the daughter approaching her and telling her of, Mom, I didn't like how you shouted at me. So how I used to be punished, I wasn't a stubborn kid, but I was stubborn in my own way, like yeah. And how I used to be punished was psychological, how, or emotional, how. I wasn't whooped. I would just be called and told to close the room. Like usually it would be like summoned. I would be summoned, right? To the bedroom. Close the room. I close the room. Please sit down. I sit down. And then it's like a whole list of what you've done. And after you've been read to, after they would read to me my crimes, and then I have to admit to the crimes, and now it's a whole detail to detail of what I did, the consequences of what I did. And I would feel so guilty of some of the things I had not even done. But just to get away from that space of, please, just 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 stop torturing me. And because I'm a very sensitive person, so things get to me, and I'm in my head most of the time. I'm going through over this and that, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should have done this better, or this or that, or I should have approached this better. So it all comes from then. It was a very good thing, but it was also traumatic in a way that nowadays, not nowadays, but I find uh, myself sometimes in situations where I can't speak about things openly, because if I think about it in my mind and it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to speak about it. Or if someone does something, I'm thinking, why shouldn't they, like maybe approach me or deal with it the same way I'll deal with it. So I
Do
find
it
myself
your way.
Exactly. I find myself in a space of, or maybe I'm thinking maybe they did it because of this. So I'm giving excuses to what they did. So it's work in progress. Now that I know better, I've realized that I can approach things in a better way. I can speak about things. I can express my feelings freely. But I just wanted to share that because Claire evoked that memory in me of when I was young, and
Yeah.
how, like, sometimes I wished I would just be whooped and just go, like, other than just being talked to like an adult. Because then
Yeah.
you wouldn't know what's next. You wouldn't know what. I mean, it was good parenting. Now that I know better, I would definitely do it with my kids. And I thank my parents for doing that, because it has made me a better adult and also a
Yeah.
better friend, a better sister, better everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very nice. I'm glad I've reminded you of that feeling, and that's how we heal, by the way. We remember, bring things
True.
to the surface and deal with them. But I'm just very curious about Isaac, and I just kept saying he doesn't look like a parent. I just want to hear his own story.
You will be surprised. Well, um, different from Rachel's childhood experience, your parents would talk to you about the things that you've done, whatever you had
I
faulted.
would be summoned. It would be a court with judges
W-
and witnesses.
I would, my childhood was quite different. I would really, if I could just turn back the clock of time, I would have loved my parents or my teachers or whoever I dealt with as a child. I'd really want them to approach, punishment the way your parents did with you, because I'm this kind of person that hates violence. I hate having to inflict pain on anyone. So, as much as I hate it, I wouldn't want anyone to inflict any physical pain on me. Um, um, but also any sort of emotional pain or psychological pain, if you would say. Because in a way, I still feel that if someone is at fault about something and you talk to them about it, but also make them realize that what they've done is wrong, and they acknowledge what they've done is wrong, it is a good step for them to get even better. As a child, I'll just shed some light on my experience as a child, and what traumas I have gone through. First, um, my dad was a big punisher, and he was the kind that believed a lot in having to punish by a stroke of a cane,
Was
but
it a
also
kind
some.
you would see and scatter?
Yeah, actually, his character got me to be really steady. There is if he hasn't gotten the time to get a cane, he would improvise to use whatever is close. And what would be easy for him was in Luganda they call it engolo. He would hit my head with what this kind of knock
Yeah,
on the head.
that one.
But you see, over time, I got really, really steady, that I knew sometimes even if I haven't seen him, I would sense him in the back, and I would dodge it and scatter. So I,
Became a pro.
I
You
so
didn't
I
get
would
punished
scatter.
for doing that.
No, as long as I dodged it and scattered, I would make sure I'm nowhere close to him, up until
Yeah.
when he's read up until when he just lets it pass. And I thank God that time in itself helped take away his anger and whatever, because as soon as I dodged, I scattered, and I didn't return up to that time when I know, okay, now he feels better. Now he's not going to hit me or do anything. Now that was just at home. But
Isaac,
what
was this frequent or it would just be when you've done something?
it's when I've done something. That's why
Uh,
I was even able to know that, okay, at this point in time, this guy is about to swing his hand. And that's how, because then I know there is something I've done, and the repercussion is engolo.
mm,
Yeah. Just that I feel it wasn't the best way. We could still talk about things. I
sometimes
was just
it would be deserved.
I was no, I was just a child. I was meant to do all those things that kids do. So I feel like having to sit down and talk to a child and show them that what you are doing is not the most ideal thing, they would not do it again. If you get what I mean. Because from that, I told myself I am not going to treat my child that way. I am not going to hurl an insult. I'm not going to inflict any physical pain on my child. You get what I mean? Because I got the pain of that ngolo, and I never ever wished anyone to get that pain. It
Right.
haunted me. It traumatized me up until now. Right now, we can chuckle and laugh about it. And, because I'm reminiscing about how I tried to be slick and dodge it and then scatter. But what if I wasn't able the many times? What if it landed? It would still be painful, and I would still remember that pain. You get what I mean? So
Mhm.
now that's just the home setting. To I'll take you to the school setting. I don't know if up until now teachers cane kids, but trust me, the canes that I got in primary school, they traumatized me to a point that even when I became an adult, I
Right.
remembered the canes that I got, because 70% of the canes I got in primary school were unfair. I was unfairly beaten. And I clearly remember the names of the teachers that hit me in primary school, full name. And I remember their faces clearly. And I am still so mad at them up until now. I hope that one day I'll be able to forgive them and let it pass.
Let
You
it
get
go.
what I
Mm.
Trust me, I'll give you a story, a small
Yeah.
story, because in my lower primary, when I was in P4, my big brother was in P6. Yeah, but we were in day school. So back then, 1,000 was huge. The three of us, my big brother and big sister, were given that money, 1,000 shillings for break, and then there was always a lunch organized. So the 1K was for the three of us, but it was always given to my big brother or my big sister. So we in lower primary would get out for break as soon as the bell is sounded. And then the bigger kids in upper primary, P6 and P7, would stay back because the P7 are candidates, and then the ones in P6 are, what do they call them? Semi-candidates.
The candidates.
So usually they would come out late. So it's my time to go get something to eat from the canteen, and my brother has the money. So for me, I'll just walk to his class, knock, and then ask to speak to him, and he would give me the money. I go get what I have to get, and then I bring him the change. So I go to his class, and his teacher, Mr. Angua Felix, had given them an exercise, a math exercise. And only those that had finished the exercise would take their book to him, he marks, and then they would go out. But the entire class was still in because they hadn't finished the exercise. So when I get to their class, the door is open and there is no teacher at the front. So I knock in the air to, but also I can see my brother from the door. I can see him, and then he signals me to come through and to fetch the money. In my mind, there is no teacher, but also I have tried to knock in space, and my brother has signaled me to come in. So I get in, go straight to my brother, get the cash, but as I'm moving out, Mr. Angua Felix calls me from the back. You, come back. He puts me in front of the P6 class and gives me 4 hard strokes of a cane. I cried so bad. It hurt me so bad. And when I remember that, I want to look at Mr. Angua Felix in the face, and I ask him, why would you hit a 9-year-old kid? That is something that never got off my mind. It traumatized me so bad. It was so, first of all, it was so unfair. Me as a child, I saw it as so unfair. But he, the adult, didn't see it. He felt that I deserved to be caned. For what? Coming into a class to pick my money for break. So a big amount of time passes, and time check, I'm working at a logistics company, and what we do is having to move cargo overseas. Cargo comes from overseas to the country, and then from the country to overseas. And my job was operational. I would be the guy who would tally, count, but also escort that cargo up to the client's premises. So my school was in Kawempe, close to a factory called, I think, Crestform. Crestform was our client to whom we were meant to deliver. So I am the guy that has to escort that cargo. We have it offloaded at the factory. I make sure it is tallied. The goods are all tallied, and then have the client acknowledge receipt of cargo. So what takes me back is to office is to give them a report of what has been delivered. It is in good condition. Client confirms, and then the other team can go ahead to invoice and whatever. So once I know I am going to Crestform, I go do my job. Client receives their cargo. They sign my documents acknowledging that they've received everything in good condition. And I just tell my driver to go ahead. I tell him, I'll find you. So I jump on a border and I go back to my school. And in my head, I want to find Mr. Angua Felix. And he explains to me why he hit that 9-year-old boy. That's how bad it tormented me. Imagine By the time I went there, I think I was 22. So from 22 minus 9, there's a huge gap. If you do the math, there's an amount of time that has passed, but it never got off here. I still remembered Mr. Angua's face, the bitterness that he had, and I still remembered the pain that I had on my butt, if you get what I mean. So I promised myself that if I had found him, luckily I didn't find him, I wanted to face him and question him, because I've also, studied the law. And I know if I was able to know what he did was wrong as a 9-year-old, how about when I'm an adult? I wanted to look at him as an adult and ask him to understand. Who knows? Get him to pay for what he did. Because none of the teachers would help. Not even my parents. I wouldn't even report. Yes, my parents got to know about it, but they let it slide. For me, psychologically, emotionally, it tormented me. And right now, I am telling a story about it. Who knows? It will just get off my heart, and then it will weigh down and I'll forget it. But if Mr. Angua or somebody that knows him lands on something like this, perhaps they should learn that they shouldn't do something like that to any child whatsoever. And having a son who made 6 this year, I have tried as much as I can not to ever inflict any pain on him. Physical pain, no. Emotional pain, no. I try as hard as I can to just talk to him and get to understand him. But also, I have noticed, I think now he's better. As he grew, when he joined school, I do not live with him. He lives with the mother, and they're up country. She works somewhere out of Kampala. So once in a while, I go visit. But sometimes when I go visit, I go straight to his school, just to check and be comfortable or satisfied that he's doing well. So there's this particular time that I get to his school and I just want to peep through the window because I don't want to distract him or the rest of the kids. But somehow he's positioned in a place where he's able to see who is at the window or who is at the door. So he sees me and he gets really emotional. He bursts out and he cries. And it confuses me. Is he crying because he was missing daddy, or something happened and he feels daddy is here to protect me? That confused me so bad. I'm like, this boy is supposed to be excited. Why is he crying? And when I look at his face, I see pain. There's that cry of joy, daddy has come, but it felt like a cry of, daddy, come rescue me. I am not fine. I am not okay. So I didn't give that feedback to his mother. I thought that I'll just talk to him and find out. But somehow he withheld. He just didn't tell me. I asked him, Ethan, are you fine? Are you okay? Why did you cry when I came to school? And he just told me he's fine. But again, I tried to track. When he slept, sometimes he'll just wake up crying. And I am confused with myself. I wake up, go to his bedroom, check, wake him up. I'm like, Ethan, is everything okay? Why are you crying? And in the night, he can't tell me. And then because he's a child, I don't want to push him so hard. I let him just sleep with us. We share the bed, his mom and I. And then in the morning, I'm hoping he'll be able to tell me what transpired in the night. Did he have a nightmare? Was it some sort of bad dream? What really happened? So in the morning, he's all smiling and he's it's all dead and gone. And then over time, he told me that he had a bad dream, but he doesn't tell me the details, the nitty gritties of the dream, what happened in the dream, up until when he told me a story that some kid beat him. And then I went to school, confronted them. He mentioned names actually. So I go to school, I'm like, there's this kid, my son told me there's this kid who hit him and blah, blah, blah. So these are things that I got beaten in primary school. My son just joined primary 1 this year. And he's telling me stories of kids beating him. And that flashes me right back to my childhood. And I'm like, no, I feel like I should be there to protect him. It puts me, it doesn't get me comfortable where I'm at. But luckily this year, we decided to change his school. And he's improved his communication. He tells us that he's happy. And when I talk to him over the phone, he tells me he found friends. There are few, he doesn't know others, just a few of them. He tells me he has found, he gives me names, and he tells me he's happy at his new school. And his mom also tells me that he's much better than before. So I feel like I'm in a safe place. I feel like he's in a better place now because he's happier, and his conversation with the mom is way better. When I talk to him over the phone, he's engaging. He doesn't just keep quiet like he did while he was in his former school. So yeah, I would want every other child to, be in a safer environment. I feel like his former school kind of affected him and it traumatized him, just like my primary school got me so traumatized. I would not wish anything like what happened to me or my son to happen to them.
Isaac, I was very, very I was very, very attentive when you shared that, because so for a long time I've been dealing with anxiety, and for a while I struggled to really understand where it was coming from, and I realized that most of it, or most of my fear of being late, most of my fear of, if I have to travel, oh my god, I have to pack this, I have to pack that, and also like simple thing of just going to work and keeping the time, like to get to work at this time and this time. I realized that I would be very scared that sometimes I would end up forgetting things here and there. And I didn't understand until, well, it's so crazy that this would even manifest in my dreams. I don't know if you guys have had those dreams of where I don't know if it's a dream, I don't know if it's subconscious trying to play tricks on you, of you have to go somewhere, let's say it's like a work or trip or something, and you wake up, you take a shower, like the normal routine of getting ready, but the entire time you are in the dream. And then you just wake up abruptly, like, oh my God, I need to get ready, I need to get this and that. So I realized that for me was coming from when I was in boarding school. Of some people ask me why I don't like posho or food made from maize flour. It's because of the boarding school, of that whole programmed system where we have to eat certain food almost every day, where we have to wake up at a certain time every day, like we have to eat at the same time every day, and shower over like 10 people in a certain room, and people steal simple things like water from a flask. So it's small things that can really traumatize you. But I like that you shared how you are trying to heal from that the fact that you even remember the name of that teacher. And this has happened to so many of us, and for some people, they never forgive these teachers or these students, that they go ahead and carry on revenge, or go ahead and self-loathe themselves to, like, of how they they perform at their jobs or in schools. There's this trend that's going on TikTok of how people are calling out people who used to like who bullied them or traumatized them in high school. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
So when you did share about that, I was like, oh my god, it's not just you. Like this has happened to so many people, and the fact that there are stories out there on TikTok, it goes to show that it's still happening. You
It is
understand?
so
And
real.
it's so real. And the thing about trauma is if we don't address it ourselves, we go ahead to like perpetuate it around the things around us and the things around us. And most of these things are like past traumatic experiences. So it becomes harmful. That's how you end up like self-destructing with like drugs, with some people they have indiscriminative or indiscriminate sex. Like it's okay, like because it was something like rape happened, or a certain comment was made about their bodies. So I also see this a lot, and I know you guys see it a lot as well, where people are like emotions are like of people are experienced or expressed more often. Rather, the emotions that I see more often that people like experience or I experience myself is the anger. Sometimes it's like a wave of anger that slaps you and like, where is this coming from? But you realize that, like Isaac, it's that teacher who beat you in primary, and now someone just threatens to beat you and you lose it, but you're not reacting to that.
It's a
Someone
it's a build up. It is stuff that
exactly,
has happened to
it's
me,
an
and how I
emotion
react.
memory, yeah.
How I react now, it isn't just about this person. It's about so many things. So many, maybe my kid waking up in the night and telling me some kid bit him. I could just do something that I would regret. So
Right,
I feel like we should be more humane. We should be more understanding. We should be more welcoming and open to just talk, conversation, dialoguing instead of getting physical with people. But also sometimes we should keep in mind the kind of words that we say to each other. Some of them slipped. You know, I could just hurl a simple insult at you. I might just body shame you, and it kills you. It can be as bad as slitting your throat off. It can be as bad as rendering you useless in society. So I feel like we all should be more human, to think before we say certain things, but also think before we do certain things. I mean, don't get physical with anyone. They have pissed you. How about you just walk away? They have pissed you. How about you talk about it, confront it with words, tell them, you know what you said was insulting to me. I would advise that tomorrow you address me differently. Do not body shame me, because it makes me feel inferior. It makes me feel less of a man, less of a woman. Please, let's just talk. Let's just be human. Most of all, let's think about these things. Once they do it to you, how would you feel? So don't do it to another.
right. Claire, let's hear from you as we prepare to wind up. I mean, this we can't talk about trauma and finish today. I feel
No,
like this can
it's a long
continue conversation. Yeah.
and and I feel like I'm just looking at the passion with which Isaac speaks about this. This is a conversation that I feel can happen for hours and hours and hours, because there's so much to unpack in such a small time. But just drawing from the final thing that Isaac concluded with, of if for example someone talked to you a certain way, tell them this is not right. It made me feel a certain way when you talk like this, and so on and so forth. Of course, in my own healing journey, I found that that we are surrounded, like as if it's like everybody's going through something. Everybody is traumatized one way or another. And a lot of us, especially kids of our generation, have been brought up by parents that were not conscious about the way they were parenting us. So as a result, I believe that a huge percentage of young people, people our age, I don't know if you're young anymore, but people our age, um, are really acting from a traumatic place. So it's like a trauma response, the way they behave, the way they go through life, the way they talk to each other and stuff, right? So whereas I I think 3 years ago, if you asked me something about how would I go about trauma and everything, I would say I would talk to someone who has done me wrong and let them know that that's wrong and stuff like that. But right now, I'm also at a stage where I I understand that most of the times it is my responsibility to like someone is going to do something that's not something that is in our control. I could wake up, leave this house, go somewhere, and someone would say something really insulting. At the time, they're not really aware that it's insulting to me, or they're really intending to insult me, or they're actually not. I'm just triggered by what they are saying. My reaction to it is going to be the problem, right? So they say, or I've learned that the way you feel about other people really is the way you feel about yourself. So if you love yourself, that's why you find the people that are full of love, most of the times they don't actually hurt other people. People that love themselves genuinely love others genuinely as well. And as a collective, not that I love this person particularly or whatever. But also people that hate themselves also hate others. And so it's the understanding of what a person is doing or saying is more about themselves than it is me, right? It's not going to be possible to control. If you're talking to 20 people in a day, it's not going to be possible to control basically how they're going to talk to you. Maybe the thing I wanted to just elaborate on is, yes, right now we are talking about childhood traumas specifically, but traumas can be a result of any stressful event that is either leaves you very, frightened or very distressed, and it's very difficult for you to cope with that, right? So some people have traumatic experiences of rape, defilement. Isaac and I, it really looks like we have a similar story. My trauma is both from home and school as well, but high school. Rachel, you know my high school very well. Some of my friends in high school used to ask me if my uncle hated me.
Oh,
like
no.
like what is going on? But for me, my mom had given even in primary school, she had told all my teachers, she's my child. If you want to kill her, I give you go ahead. So teachers knew that they could do whatever they wanted with me, and there's not going to be anybody to help. And so I had the mom that was beating me everywhere at home, and then I had an uncle that was beating me everywhere at school, and he had support of other teachers as well. Um, and so, whew, okay. So recently, through trauma, through therapy, my therapist asked me to speak to my parents. And maybe as we wind up, that is something that I'd like to share about. Forgive me, I have cough. I'm not really able to elaborate so much on some of my traumas, but my therapist asked me to talk to my mom, to my dad, and to my uncle. And that's because my mom was the person. So there was beating. My mom used to beat me like she was angry. Like you could see, like it's like monstrous even. Like she's strangling you. She's cursing you. At some point, she would spit saliva at you and say things like, "You have a very bad death. I hate you," and things like that. You'll be like, "What did I do?" And maybe that's because you've not done your homework or you're phone talking to a boy outside of your house and things like that. And so I thought my mom was really angry about something, and so for a long time I thought there was something wrong with me. My uncle was doing the same. If I walked a wrong way, I was a bad child. My uncle was going to punish me. If I put on socks the wrong way, I was a bad child. My uncle was going to punish me. He would not give me money for like snacks and stuff. And if I take long to ask for money, he would assume some boy is giving it to me. So it was like a whole situation of confusion. You just don't know what you're doing wrong, but you don't know what you're doing right. You don't know when you're going to be punished. You don't know what for what and stuff. So I used to be very fearful growing up. Even when I started working, I was very fearful of my bosses, of people. I didn't know how to interact and stuff like that. I confronted my dad because my dad was quiet. I could see that he's a good parent, and he had a very nice way of disciplining us. I don't want to use the word punish because my dad didn't punish us, but my dad disciplined us. We had files where if you did something, he would warn you and you write an agreement and you say, "I'll never do this again. If I do this again, this is how I want to be punished." Da, 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 da. And then if you do the same thing again, my dad would pull out that file and you read yourself, and then he tells you what punishment did you say we give you, and he'll give you exactly that punishment, nothing more, nothing less. I loved that version. So most of the times when my mom was punishing me badly, my spirit was calling out to my dad to come in and help because he was just quiet and looking on, right? So the resentment I had towards my dad was, why did he not do anything when I was struggling like that? So of course I
That's
called my yeah. So when I called my dad, I could not face them physically to talk to them about that. So I just called and I told that, so I'm in therapy, this and this is happening, this is what happened in my childhood. I just want to know why you did not do anything. And the man said, "Let me call you back." And he called
I
me
think
like an hour
I think
later.
you should have. I think you should have gotten to talk to him one on one, not over the
I
phone, because
I don't
it's
know.
quite sensitive to just pass through a phone call.
I
Yeah.
know. No, you're right. But for me, it's quite easier if it's not physical. I don't know how. I don't like showing my emotions. So I thought I would cry in his face and or something like that. And I was like, let me just call him. That was the easier thing. And I'd procrastinated for like 6 months until my therapist said, we are not going to move to the next stage until we do this because we did it. So he called me back, and firstly, he asked me how therapy is going and everything. Then he explained to me that during that time, he just didn't come in because he didn't want to disrespect my mom in front of us, but behind closed doors, he was always trying to talk to her to not do that, and that he was always surprised when she would do the same thing, and he would talk to her over and over again. Then um, he he left eventually. He left my mom for us, I guess. Um, so he told me that he so my dad, I feel he's the kind of man who stayed for his kids. Like if I leave these young kids, I don't know what will happen to them. But I think for a long time he wanted to leave. So eventually, of course, he left. But he told me that he thought that my mother is someone that was not didn't love herself, and so she was not capable of loving others. And he told me he is sorry. Should have done more, but he didn't. Um, but he said that if there's anything I need, I should always ask. And he's happy I'm in therapy, and he hopes that I also help my sisters get their own healing. So then I called my mom, and my mom said, apologies, I have this strong fluid stuff and it's an emotional conversation. But my mom basically said that every child has to fear their parents, and shouldn't have to be beaten to fear their parents, and also spare the rod. So she quoted that line from the Bible, and she said if she didn't beat us, she doesn't think that we would turn out the way we did. And she quoted, so she said something about how her mother raised her. So basically, her mom also used to beat her. She even thought that her mother wasn't her mother, and her mother hated her. And then her mother once told her that one time you will appreciate me for this. So she also told me the same words. She said that one day I will appreciate her for that. And and I ended the conversation because I felt like it was not going to go anywhere. But it was quite nice to understand that the way she was raised with me was the way she was raised.
Yeah.
And
She was
like,
stuck with her
That
approach of
yeah, she
yeah,
hadn't
I,
healed herself, and there's no way, like she hadn't
yeah,
accepted
yeah,
whatever that what burdened
yeah,
her from the
yeah,
past, and now she was passing on
yeah,
you and yeah, your siblings. But I'm so glad that now recognize it, you've accepted it, you've had the conversation with both your mom and your dad, and we know where they all stand. And I'm glad that you have the support of your dad, and that he also left not to cause more damage, because we've seen instances of where it ends in death, it
yeah,
ends in people going to jail and all that. And like I said earlier, I'm so proud that you've done this work, like not just for yourself, but also for your children as well. They will be very much proud when later they learn about that. I'm going to go into the chats quickly, or the comments. We have Janita Maya saying, I agree, Isaac, let the drama end with us. Thank you, Joanita, for watching and for that feedback. We have Creed 256, and yeah, he was just saying hi. Then we have to see Marina. She says last year was the
Creed. Creed is my guy. Shout out to
hi.
Creed. Thanks for catching, man.
Yeah. To see Marina says last year was the worst for me to go through all the trauma since my mother died. A lot happened and traumatized me, from family that said the worst to me, school where I was bullied. I lost trust and hide myself from everyone. Lost weight just because I had to go through it all. Can't even explain events. My grandmother would call me names and would and have made me not to believe in myself. Um, Rena, she also says, Isaac, thanks for inviting me here. I needed it, and I believe God has answered my prayers. Shout out to you, Rena. Thank you for joining us. And I am so sorry that you have to deal with all that, especially from family that you believe would be the people that should support you. And also you dealing with loss of a mother. I can relate because I lost a mother, and life has never been the same, because there's a certain void that is left in your life that no one could ever fulfill. So I'm really sorry. Hugs to you. I hope you find true healing, and this doesn't define you in any way. Whatever they say, I, I'm realizing more and more as I grow older, and as I learn about people and their views about stuff and everything. People project a lot. Like someone would tell you something because in their head it makes sense, or maybe because they would want to be like you. So instead of complimenting you, they would rather bring you down. You understand? And also, like we said, trauma, some people have not healed, some people have not accepted what has happened to them, so they don't know better, and they can't do better. So if we now know better, we have to teach them and make this a better Uganda or community or society or Africa to raise the offsprings, because like Isaac and Claire are parents, and some of the people who are watching are parents, and people like me would want to be a parent someday. So if I do the work now, if I create this safe space where children can talk about things, where I know if I do this, it's going to lead to that, but I can do this and it's going to, shape my child in this kind of way, or help my young brother to be a better man, to treat women better, or, so many things. And the work has to be done, but that comes from acceptance. There's nothing you're going to do if you've not accepted it. You understand? So it's accepting whatever that is burdens you completely. And from that, then underneath all that brokenness, there is always holiness in there. Yeah. Okay. We still have some minutes, so I want to read a few more chats before I let you guys say something. Um, we have the we have Creed saying, with strict protective parents, I was never allowed to express myself. Abakuli Tebasobia, yo, tell me
Right?
about
That
if you've grown up in an African home, okay, if you've grown up here in Uganda, especially, I'm from the central. If you've grown up here in the central, eh, Abakuli Tebasobia, and that
No.
has led to a lot of trauma, distract, pain, everything. And we see the manifestations in the politicians we have, the so-called leaders we have, because of Mkulu Tasobi, and they're doing all the nonsensical things, being silly, and I don't even want to talk about it. So he's saying this traumatized me to a silent guy, which I'm still fighting even now. I'm a work in progress from anxiety. Isaac, rather Creed, speak about anxiety. I think I shared earlier one of the things I struggle with, like mentally, is the anxiety, and I have come to realize that the common fear in most people is anxiety, because we have anxiety of what is going to happen, what will happen, what has happened, and that combines so many things in there. So anxiety is serious, but it also comes from somewhere. It doesn't just show up like in our lives, it's coming from somewhere. And
yeah,
for some people, it's even chronicle, like it's so bad, like they keep messing up and messing up and messing up, like sabotaging everything because of the
yeah.
anxiety. Yeah, what will happen, or this or that. So Isaac, you say you are work in progress. Healing is journey, it's a process. Sometimes it's going to be
That's
hard.
Creed. That's Creed saying he's a work in progress.
Great. Grade 256. Yeah, it's healing is a process. It doesn't happen in a day or a night. It happens. Sometimes you're going to go back, then go forward, be in the middle, but yeah, you always find your ground. And I'm a thinker, so sometimes I get lost in my imaginations and fantasies, and just physically separate myself from spaces that don't serve me, just because I don't want to end up, sabotaging or creating damage. Because it's crazy. Someone can say something to you that's it's a trigger, and you just go off, like really go off. So sometimes it's good to just separate yourself from those spaces, but also to understand and accept that this has happened, but it's not going to define who I am. I am better, and I can do better. Uh, he also said most people take my silence, fear to express myself, for pride. They say Nelaga because of my good looks, but Nelaga, for people who don't
Abadde
understand,
ino Kaisao.
we don't understand Uganda. Nelaga is more like self boost, or like
The
being
show
proud,
off of
Like
sorts.
or
show.
show. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
But
like show.
me identifying that has made me stronger in fight the fear of rejection and failure. every child has to fear. So he's asking, every child has to fear their parents? I think he was just asking from what Claire has had shared.
No, I don't think so. And I'm responding right to it.
All right, guys, take it away from the comments. People, Rina and Creed, who have shared like what they're dealing with and how this is shaping their lives. Like, what advice would you give to them, given that you've also experienced these things and you're still healing your minds and also like doing some work in transforming lives of your children, but also other lives of other people in different spaces.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Rina for joining, and I am glad this stream is has been quite impactful to you. I would like to thank Creed for joining us still, and getting all engaging in the comment section. Thanks for turning up. Um, this thing called trauma or the anxieties that happen in us, it's not just something that happens to me. It is I don't want to call it, should I even call it a cancer? It is a cancer that is eating so many people up
Claire
that,
calls it pandemic.
well, I think I should adapt calling it a pandemic.
A
It is something
pandemic.
that is eating so many people up, and some don't even realize they are traumatized. It is that bad. They don't even know what they're going through is actually trauma. So I know things have happened, but as kids growing up as a child, I also used to think that every adult is right, every adult is knowledgeable, intelligent, and etc. But when I grew up, okay, yes, I saw some that were not really as intelligent. They didn't reason as well as they should have reasoned. I saw it back then as a child. But when I grew, I saw more that so many adults approach life in a very wrong way, and they are so wrong about so many things. And the problem, the pandemic in them, is that they don't even acknowledge, they do not know some of these things, and how they address them is so wrong.
Right.
So I will appeal to you, Creed, and to Rina, my dears. We are adults now. We are able to look at situations, assess them, and know that these people are wrong with everything they have done, with how they have interpreted things, with how they have called us, named us things, with how they have dictated on how we should adapt on archaic ways of living. You cannot tell me that omukulu tasobia. That saying is so wrong. Basobia, they are only human. And it is only normal for an adult. If I wronged my son right now, if I hurt him in any way, and I see that I've hurt him, I'll try so bad to say I am sorry, because I want him to feel different. I don't want my son to fear me. I want him to see me as Superman, as someone who will protect him, as someone who will be there for him, as someone who is going to make sure that he doesn't get hurt. I don't want him to see me come through and he runs away. I want him to see me come through and he runs to me for a big hug. So yes, these things have been happening in your lives, but it is time for you to say bye-bye to that bad life, work on yourself, deal with that anxiety, accept that it is only going to happen over a period of time, respect the process, temwetwala new speed. These things we are all going to get better. But
Give yourselves grace.
the good thing is that you have acknowledged that there's something wrong that is happening to you. That's a good step. So, upon acknowledgement, what's the way forward? You having to deal with it the best way you possibly can. How? I took it upon myself to list down some of the ways that we could deal with trauma or these anxieties or these things that have been getting to us. mentally. And I have about five of them. I'd like to list them for you. They're quite easy. First of all, most times when we are traumatized, when we are depressed, when we are filled with anxieties, the first thing we think about as youths is, how do I get it off my mind? Someone will say, let me get myself a joint, let me
Yeah.
smoke it away with a little weed, let me let me
Unhealthy
drink
ways
it,
to cope.
let me drink it off. I'll get the pain away with a little bit of height. No, you don't have to get yourself drunk to get rid of that
Binge
trauma.
drink. Mm.
So avoid it. Simply keep sober. Acknowledge you could get better without getting that height of marijuana or that height of spirit or gin or whatever. Spend some time with friends and family, those people that love you, those people that understand you, those people that will listen to you whenever you have to speak or rant out whatever you have to rant out. So spend more time with them. I know you should, Rena. I know you are a very talented actress. I know there's so many other things that you do, like baking cake. Go ahead and distract yourself with those gifts that you have, with the talents that you have. Creed is also another talented actor that I know representing the artistry. Shout outs to you. You know that you can distract yourself with your artistry, with your craft. So maintain your routines of the things that you do, the things that you love. Make sure you catch your meals, exercise, or catch some sleep. Whenever you need to sleep, try to sleep. Engage in sports or entertainment. You could do a little bit of gymming and set realistic goals. But most of all, focus on what you can manage. Do not do not gauge yourself so high and you cannot do it. Those are just some of those that you can help yourself deal with trauma or your anxieties or whatever sort of depression that you're going through. And that's more like it coming from me. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Unless there's anything else, Rachel, that you have to.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing the ways in which, not just Rina and Creed that have shared some of the issues that they're dealing with or they've dealt with regarding the trauma. I'm very much interested to hear what Claire has to say, especially now she took the step to, like, in her healing journey to do therapy, which is more like professional treatment, right? And for most people it's a hard decision because sometimes, like, why should I speak to a stranger about my issues, or why would I spend that money to speak about these things? But now it's possible, like I said earlier, because mental health has a face, so we
Yeah.
have definitions of these things, and for some of these issues, we need to seek treatment for them. We can't just talk about them enough. Like, we need to speak, or rather, we need to get the treatment for them, because you realize that if mental health is at the core of who we are, right? How we function, how we are productive, and we have so many things that are happening right now, the economic stress for our brothers and sisters in Kenya. They are fighting for their constitutional rights of, the rights are happening. People are losing their lives. People, like, there's a lot of brutality that's happening, and it's leaving people at the edge of mental breakdowns. Others are breaking down, and like a lot is happening, and this is across Africa. It's not just Kenya. I mean, Kenya right now, but this is across Africa. It's happened in Uganda before, and we are approaching 2026, and most of us have that fear of, is it going to happen again like it did happen in 2020? Was it 2022 at the start of
2021.
2021, right? And we are just fresh from the COVID, the pandemic. There's also that. So you understand, right? So
Yeah.
if we don't heal our minds, you find that stop being productive, mental health and burnouts become so frequent, and Before you know it, now it becomes a illness. It becomes from just being a simple issue of, oh, I'm stressed here and there, or it's just small anxiety, or then becomes chronic. It becomes a very big issue, and you can't function at all. You fall out of the economic system. You fall out of the social life, and for some people they commit suicide, unfortunately, because so we can't just speak about these things. I mean, we can, but we can't just speak about. We need to do both. We need to get the treatment as well. That's why I wanted Claire to kind of share her journey in therapy, and because from what I gathered, her speaking to her parents, getting the courage and everything to speak about what had happened in her childhood, and her now understanding and being able to come here and speak about it without crying as before. It's because she has gotten the professional treatment to navigate this journey. And Claire, how do you decide to go to therapy, and how has the journey been like? Is this something you would recommend to the audience watching, or even to me and Isaac? You understand? Yeah. So
Yes,
you don't have to tell us everything in detail, but you could just kind of shed light on that.
yes,
As
certainly.
we wrap it up.
Yes,
Yes, as we wrap it up.
sure. So I will try to bring that in the four basic, they're like parting notes that I wanted to give. The first thing that I wanted to mention is that unfortunately, whereas people, whereas it's other people that caused us pain, whereas it's other people that brought about our trauma, it is our responsibility to work on ourselves and to heal from that. And I think everyone that has started this healing journey, the very first stage is going to be anger. You're so angry to everybody that did this and that to you.
Rage. Yeah.
And the rage is just,
Resent.
gosh,
Yes.
it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things in the healing journey is to take yourself out of the outrageous state, to go to the other side, where now, yes, there is anger, but there is healing as well. Because when you're angry, it's easy to have someone to be responsible for your pain, and it is safe to say, I am like this because this one and this one did this, because trauma or very traumatic experiences, especially through childhood, we can have different effects. You end up choosing wrong people, wrong partners, wrong friends, wrong habits to cope, so many wrong jobs. Even you end up in toxic places because toxicity is a place that is that is natural to you. It's how you grew up. And of course, as
Okay.
adults, we
Yeah.
yeah, of course, as adults, we end up choosing what is safe and what is known to us, right? So I am speaking from a place of someone that has healed, and I hope that I don't sound insensitive to people that are going through it. That's a disclaimer that I wanted to put out. um my journey, for sure, I am a person who has always been very intentional about self growth. um for some reason, I have always been very intentional. So even me searching, and it mostly started during COVID, because COVID had to get us to face ourselves, whether we liked it or not. So for me, I actually started with a lot of googling, questions like, what is wrong with me? Questions like, I feel like this and this and this. And of course, when you Google, you can die tomorrow because it's probably cancer or it's something. Like, there is a lot that Google is going to give you. So that means that when you're looking for information, be sure to fact check it, and not just to take whatever you get. I talked to like about 5 therapists, and I did not connect with all of those ones. So I had like 1, 2, 3 sessions before getting the final therapist that I had. Um, I am very vocal about my healing, and because of that, I have found myself with people that wanted to help me either find therapies or take me to the next step of my healing journey. So the very first time I went to therapy, I just talked to a friend. I said hi, who was providing mental health first aid like I am doing now. And I said, hello, I am feeling like this. I need to talk to someone. She told me, come in. I went to their office, we talked, and then she connected me to a therapist, whereby, because therapy is very expensive, whereby she was paying a certain percentage and I was only paying another certain percentage. Um, so I had like those sessions. Eventually, when I found my therapist that I'm dealing with now, what he did was to say, okay, let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your parents. Before they met, how were they? Where did they come from? How are their parents like? And then we built up to now they met, we built up to now they had you, to built up to now they had your sister, then you went to school, then kindergarten, then primary school, then secondary school, then so now we're at a stage where I am having my second child and I am married and whatever, right? Which for me, that journey, no, I divorced Isaac. So
I
we
just
can laugh about.
clapped for you.
Oh,
That
yeah.
will be
Happy
another
for you.
session.
So the reason why I think he started like that was by the time we reached the stage of the pain that my parents caused me, I was very aware and understanding of what
I think,
they are all
Isaac,
bringing
sorry,
into
cut
life.
you. Isaac, please mute your mic because there's feed that comes in and interrupts with Claire's audio.
Ah,
Thank you.
okay. Okay. So yeah, so whenever we reached a place where my parents hurt me and I'm seeing the trauma, I had the back understanding of my mom grew up like this and that's why she acts like this and these things are very important to her. My dad, so my mom came from a very poor background. She came as a maid and then education was important to her. If you played in education, there was a problem. My dad was from a well-to-do family, very handsome man, everyone liked her. He doesn't give a damn about things, you know. For my dad, life just happens like that. And for my mom, she's very controlling about life. Those are the contrasting things about my parents, and I had to understand the way they parented me is how they were brought up, right? So I took on my own healing journey pretty much from a place of understanding, which helped with rage. It created a broad understanding of yes, they hurt me, it's okay, I can talk to them. It doesn't matter whether my mom says sorry, it doesn't matter whether my dad says sorry, but they know that they hurt me. um, we move on, right? We move like this, and so that's basically how my healing journey has been. I've taken it. No, before that, I wanted to mention that it can be very confusing if someone is dealing with trauma that is actually inflicted by a loved one, because they are people that are supposed to love you, but then they are also people that caused you pain. It's very confusing to the brain. Because if for me, if a stranger hurt me, I'd be like, okay, that's a stranger. It's
They
okay.
don't know
Move.
me.
I don't know you.
Person
You
that
don't know
loves you. Why?
me.
You keep asking yourself why.
But if it's your parents, I questioned a lot whether my mom loved me. And even when I started to choose my partners, I was choosing people that caused me pain, because the people that loved me in my childhood were also people that caused me pain. And so it wasn't easy for me to say this is love and this is not, even in my own partners, right? And especially emotional pain. Emotional pain is like the hardest thing to like quantify, to even talk about or even understand. So if it's people that caused you pain that loved you, it's very confusing. But and also even to talk about it, it can be hard because they love you. So you're like, hey, that's my mother. She also took me to school. How would they think if I'm talking about her like this? And it's like the guilt that you give yourself, and you think other people are going to give you, or other people give you already. Because sometimes you could talk about it and someone will say something like, "But she's your mother. But she breastfed you. But she took you to school." And you're like, but I feel pain, right? So when
Yeah.
Esther says something like, this is her story, she's vocal about it because this is her story. Like, it's important for us to own our stories to heal. We don't own them so that we can carry or revenge on our parents or do this and this. But for us to walk on the other side of healing, we have to first acknowledge and accept that yes, they love me, yes, they're my parents, but they caused me pain.
They
So you
hurt you.
acknowledge that they hurt me, you hurt me. And even when you tell them, you say, Mom, you hurt me. And then you go through it. And then because that's you're no longer feeling shy or shameful or anything about your own experience. So you see it, and then after that will be healthy coping mechanisms like Isaac gave us. Um, I also want to say that there's a point in my life where I thought healing was not possible. I even asked my therapist one time that are there people who feel fine and they are happy and and like it's so like are there people that feel good? And he said you'll be so surprised. The day I woke up, I like to say this so much. The day I woke up and I guess I was not trauma free because the journey doesn't stop, but I didn't have anxiety anymore, the depression and stuff. I felt as light as paper. I felt as happy as, like, I can't even explain the feeling. But when I woke up feeling like that, I was like, what joy is filling my heart right now? Like, what's going on? Right? It was that
This
that
last
thing.
one, yeah.
Yes. And for me who was asking whether healing is possible, whether it's actually possible to feel okay, and now I was feeling it. That's when I actually made it very intentional to start my podcast, because a lot of people lose hope on the way. But it's actually very possible to heal. It's possible to feel better. It's possible to for everything to go away, and you feel okay. And even when this very, someone triggers you, or you go through some moments, because life is like that, the way you deal with it from a place of no depression, no anxiety, is different from the way you deal with it when you're on the other side. So this message is just to say that it is very, very possible to heal, and it's very, very possible um, to be on the other side. Finally, if anyone is working on themselves and they want to, I guess, heal with me, I have a podcast, like I said earlier. It's called Spiritual Honesty, the podcast. I can just put a link here in the group, in that chat for audio. And oh, I don't know why it has failed to post. Maybe Rachel, you help me. We have a YouTube and we have an audio for people that love to listen, where we just talk about our experiences. We talk about different things, but specifically about childhood traumas. I want to build a network of everyone that is on their journey. We help each other through giving each other information and sharing experiences like that, so we can foster a collective healing among everybody. And also, your own journey, your own experiences are the ones that are leading you to your actual purpose in this life. And so it's important for us to heal so that we can be our actual selves. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Claire. I'm glad you found healing and you're still healing. And I wish everyone like a happy, not happy like sense of happy, but find that healing of the mind, not just physically, but the mind as well. So we can continue to do this work in whichever way we do. Like I believe every one of us doing our bit, it becomes a collective and it transforms communities and lives and makes the society a better place.
Yep.
So shout out to the people who have been with us from the start to
Yep.
now. We appreciate you. Thank you, Claire, for coming through. And yeah, it's not the last time, so we will have you back on here definitely on
Yes.
another topic or topic, but we will definitely have you back on here some other time. And also, we are not professional like medical professional experts. Whatever we share here is from the human side of our experiences, other people's experiences, but mostly our experiences because we've lived these things. They are our stories, and we are sharing because we know just the same way we've managed through or we've experienced them, some other people are going through the same things because we are all from almost the same communities. There are always similarities, and there's still a lot of stigma, there's still a lot of ignorance. So we just want to make this free conversations where there's no shame, there's no guilt shaming, there's no, regret or anything. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend. Take care of your mind. Stay safe. Replenish your energies because you can't do this work if there's no energy. You understand? Not just the physical energy, but the mental energy as well. You have to be mentally stable to do this. Claire, I'll definitely ask the technical guys if when you're doing the description
Yeah.
after this, you can put the link of the podcast there. Or but we also like talk about it to Isaac and also other people as well, so that they can come and learn in that area as well, childhood traumas, because it's happening. It's very much real.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Rachel. And thanks for joining us, Claire Nakato. You have been really, really resourceful. And trust me, after this conversation, I would want us to have more and more conversation with you on board. I'm sure after this is done in the next few, we shall have more and more conversations, side conversations. To you that have been watching, Kushola Mackenzie, thanks for coming through. Thanks for keeping it here from the start until now. You have been really, really engaging, and that has made our conversation really a good one. We didn't feel like we are talking to ourselves. A simple tip to that person who is going through things and they can't wait for them to feel much better, please trust the process. I cannot really say it's going to happen in 2 days or a week or a month. Trust the process. Work on yourself. You might want to hook up a therapist, somebody that you can share your pains with, somebody that you can talk to. But most of all, trust the process. Do it while on your speed. You're going to get out of it, but you have to trust that the time when you feel better is going to come. So simply have hope, and everything is going to be fine. From us, kings and queens, to you guys, thank you. Have yourselves a lovely night.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone. Good night.